NASA expects to launch the James Webb Space Telescope, the largest and most expensive instrument ever flown.
The greatest scientific missions of modern times has taken a giant leap forward today with the launch at lunchtime of the James Webb Space Telescope.
The James Webb Space Telescope has just captured the first real image of 3I Atlas, an object racing into our solar system from the deep void. A visitor scientists are already calling the new Oumuamua. But this time, the image doesn't just raise questions. It shakes the very foundation of what we think we know about the universe. Is it a frozen fragment from a distant star system? Or could it be something engineered, something watching us? The answer changes everything. In October 2017, astronomers spotted something that had never been seen before. A mysterious object hurtling through our solar system on a trajectory that proved it wasn't from here. It came from interstellar space, traveling faster than any comet we had ever measured, tumbling end over end like a cosmic dart. They named it Oumuamua, which in Hawaiian means a messenger from afar arriving first. But this messenger didn't behave like any visitor we had prepared for. Some telescopes suggested it was cigar-shaped, long and thin, almost like a needle. Others hinted it was flat, perhaps more like a pancake. The truth was, our instruments simply weren't sharp enough to capture its real form. All we had were strange light curves, odd reflections, and questions that made the scientific world uneasy. It seemed to accelerate slightly as if something invisible was pushing it along, yet there was no clear evidence of outgassing, no visible comet tail. It left as quickly as it came, slipping back into the void, leaving behind a trail of debate and speculation that has raged for years. For many, Oumuamua became the ultimate cosmic cliffhanger. Was it just a fragment of rock chipped from a planet in some distant system? Was it an icy shard behaving in ways we didn't fully understand? Or, as a few daring voices suggested, could it have been something else entirely? An artificial craft, a probe, maybe even a message? With no clear images, we were left with nothing but uncertainty. Humanity's first interstellar encounter was wrapped in shadows, a puzzle with missing pieces. Fast forward to today, it is 2024, edging into 2025, and once again the universe has delivered another traveler. Astronomers are calling it 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar object to ever pass through our solar system. Unlike its predecessors, however, this one has arrived in a new era. We now possess the most powerful eye humanity has ever aimed at the heavens, the James Webb Space Telescope. Built to peer across the cosmos and reveal the faintest starlight from the dawn of time, Webb is now trained on something much closer, something moving through our own celestial neighborhood. And this time, the visitor is not slipping by unseen. This time, its secrets will not remain hidden in blurry data and unanswered questions. For the first time in history, an interstellar object is being observed with clarity. And this time, we have the James Webb Telescope watching. It began with a ping from the James Webb control room, a set of data packets sliding across monitors in the middle of an otherwise ordinary night. At first, nothing looked out of the ordinary. Numbers, graphs, and light curves, exactly the kind of information the telescope churns out every day. But then, as the team began layering the readings into an image, the ordinary slipped away. This wasn't just another distant galaxy or a hazy exoplanet. This was 3I Atlas itself, a moving traveler passing through our solar system, caught in the telescope's unflinching gaze. The moment the first raw image came through, silence fell across the control room. Instead of a fuzzy blur or a faint streak, the Webb revealed crisp detail that scientists had never dreamed possible. Yet, what they saw only deepened the mystery. The shape wasn't smooth, wasn't symmetrical, and certainly wasn't typical of comets or asteroids. At first glance, it looked like a cluster of jagged facets, a shard fractured from something larger. But when they adjusted the filters, the light curves told a stranger story. It wasn't reflecting sunlight in a way that made sense. The brightness spiked in irregular rhythms, as though the surface were twisting in ways no simple rock should. Comparisons were immediate. Unlike Oumuamua, there was no debate about whether it was cigar-shaped or pancake-shaped. 3i Atlas seemed both familiar and alien at once, with sharp planes that caught the sun like mirrors and edges that almost looked engineered. Unlike Borisov, the second interstellar visitor discovered in 2019, there was no clear comet tail, no predictable plume of ice turning into vapor. Instead, there were flashes, glints of reflected light that hinted at metals or crystalline structures we don't typically see in such objects. It was as though this visitor didn't want to play by any of the rules astronomers thought the A understood. As Webb tracked it over the course of hours, something even more puzzling emerged. The object's spin appeared unstable. It wasn't tumbling like a loose rock. It was shifting with subtle changes, as if tiny bursts of force were nudging it. Some scientists speculated about outgassing jets, tiny spurts of material escaping into space, but Webb's infrared sensitivity found nothing consistent with water vapor or carbon dioxide. The object seemed to be moving with a hidden hand, an invisible push no one could fully explain. The image itself circulated quickly through NASA's internal channels. Normally, the first step after a detection is cautious review, weeks of analysis before any public statement. But the Webb's clarity made secrecy nearly impossible. Word began leaking out, whispers that the telescope had caught something extraordinary, something that didn't fit neatly into the categories of comet, asteroid, or fragment. What Webb revealed in its first real image left even NASA speechless. The first wave of reactions came from the very scientists who had been staring at the Webb data as it arrived. One researcher reportedly whispered, "This can't be right," while another muttered, "I've never seen anything like this in my career." Soon, word spread beyond the control room, reaching experts across universities and observatories worldwide. The responses ranged from cautious astonishment to near disbelief. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, who had already stirred controversy by suggesting Oumuamua might have been artificial, wasted no time in pointing out the similarities. "This object challenges everything we thought we knew," he said in an interview, his words echoing across headlines within hours. Others called it bluntly, "the strangest object we've ever observed." But not everyone was ready to leap into the extraordinary. A chorus of skeptics rose quickly, arguing that humanity has a tendency to exaggerate the unusual. "We've been fooled before," one planetary scientist remarked. "Just because we don't understand it yet doesn't mean it's anything beyond nature's chaos." For these voices, 3i Atlas was nothing more than an oddly shaped shard, maybe a piece of a shattered exoplanet knocked loose in some distant cosmic collision. "Rocks are strange," they insisted. "Space is stranger. We shouldn't jump to conclusions." Yet the contrast between the cautious and the bold only fueled the storm of intrigue. On one hand, the Webb images revealed angles and reflections that made the object appear unnervingly geometric, as though some part of it had been carved or designed. On the other hand, scientists grounded in classical astronomy warned that ice crystals, fractures, or unusual minerals could easily play tricks on the human eye. The tension between these camps created an electric atmosphere in the scientific community. Every press statement, every tweet, every leaked photo seemed to tilt the conversation one way, then back the other. Still, a haunting possibility refused to fade. What if this wasn't just another rock? What if it was something engineered, an artifact from somewhere beyond? That idea, once confined to fringe discussions, was now echoing in mainstream debates. "If this is natural," one astronomer admitted on live television, "then it's rewriting planetary science. If it's not, the implications are staggering." The battle lines were drawn, skeptics insisting on patience, visionaries daring to ask whether we were witnessing contact in its most subtle form, Meanwhile, behind the scenes, teams of researchers scrambled to model the object's movements, its light curves, its strange lack of expected signatures. The Webb had opened a door, but stepping through it would test the very limits of human imagination. When the first images of 3I Atlas were released, the race to explain it began almost instantly. The most conservative theory was the simplest. This was a comet unlike any we had catalogued before. Perhaps it had formed in the frozen outskirts of another solar system, where exotic ices and minerals shaped its surface in ways unfamiliar to us. Supporters of this view argued that the irregular flashes of light could be explained by crystalline ice, reflecting sunlight like a jagged mirror as the object spun. If so, then 3I Atlas was still remarkable, an untouched sample of alien chemistry, but it remained within the safe confines of known science. Others leaned toward the idea of a planetary fragment. Maybe 3I Atlas had been ripped from the crust of a distant world during some ancient catastrophe, a star exploding, or a gas giant swallowing one of its moons and ejecting debris into space. This theory captured imaginations because it implied that pieces of other planets, perhaps even ones that once harbored life, might be drifting endlessly through the galaxy. Imagine, they suggested, if this shard carried within it the building blocks of biology, frozen spores, or strange organic chemistry waiting to be uncovered. Suddenly, the object was not just a rock, but a messenger of deep time, carrying echoes of alien worlds across the void. But it was the more controversial speculations that truly lit the fire. Avi Loeb, still known for his bold claim that Oumuamua might have been artificial, quickly resurfaced in headlines. He proposed that 3I Atlas's geometry, its light glints, and its unexplained acceleration could all fit the profile of something engineered. Could it be a solar sail, an object built to ride the pressure of starlight across interstellar distances? If so, then humanity was staring at technology millions of years ahead of our own. Technology designed not by chance but by intelligence. This suggestion drew sharp criticism, but also fascination. Some scientists bristled at the very mention of aliens, dismissing it as sensationalism. Yet others admitted that the data was unusual enough to keep the question open. After all, what better way to disguise a probe than to build it in the image of a rock? To those willing to think beyond the ordinary, 3I Atlas wasn't just a natural oddity, it was a possibility, however faint, of first contact. Theories snowballed further. Some suggested it could be space junk from an advanced civilization, debris from ancient starfarers. Others wondered if it was part of a network of interstellar beacons, passing silently through systems like ours. Still more speculated that it might be a probe designed to observe, to gather, and perhaps even to test whether we notice. The sheer breadth of ideas only added to the mystery, a reminder that when the cosmos delivers something new, it also delivers the temptation to dream. But in the end, no theory, natural or extraordinary, fit the Webb data perfectly. Each left gaps, unanswered questions that gnawed at the edges of certainty. And then came the twist. The Webb telescope detected something about 3I Atlas that no one had predicted. A signal buried not in its surface, but in its behavior. Something that would turn speculation into shock. Something no one expected. For weeks, astronomers around the world had been piecing together fragments of data from Webb's instruments, cross-checking every spike, every faint glimmer, against the models they knew by heart. At first, the object behaved as one might expect, an icy traveler, shedding faint trails of vapor as sunlight touched its frozen surface. But then, Webb's infrared sensors caught something that made seasoned scientists sit upright in their chairs. The outgassing wasn't normal. It wasn't the typical spray of water vapor or carbon dioxide. Instead, it was releasing compounds in patterns, bursts that looked timed and almost deliberate, as if the object itself was adjusting, correcting, responding. When the team plotted its spin, the mystery only deepened. Natural comets tumble chaotically, wobbling in the dark. This one did not. Its rotation shifted suddenly. Like a dancer pausing mid-step, then gliding into a new rhythm. NASA officials tried to keep their language restrained, repeating phrases like anomalous and unprecedented. But behind closed doors, one voice cut through the hum of technical jargon. This behavior shouldn't be possible. The public, of course, seized on the story before scientists could finish drafting their careful explanations. Headlines screamed across social media feeds. Alien engine firing, interstellar probe discovered, James Webb confirms artificial object? In chat rooms and late-night podcasts, voices debated whether this was the moment humanity had been waiting for, or fearing. The frenzy only grew when amateur astronomers began sharing their own observations, noting flashes of light reflecting off its surface, too sharp, too symmetrical to dismiss as coincidence. Inside the labs, tension ran high. The cautious majority urged patience. Maybe some new chemistry was at play, something yet to be written in textbooks. Maybe it was a fragment from a plane, its deep mantle forged in pressures unlike anything in our solar system. But the whispers of the minority, the ones who dared to say the word artificial, hung heavier in the air each day. For every press briefing that reassured the public with careful uncertainty, there were leaked recordings of scientists marveling at how this thing seems to know where it's going. For every official denial, there were a dozen viral videos claiming the object's trajectory aligned with Earth's orbit a little too neatly. And then came the final observation that silenced the chatter into a collective hush. As Webb tracked the object closer, its emissions shifted again, not weakening as it lost mass, but strengthening, pulsing brighter, more rhythmic, like a heartbeat in the darkness. Theories collapsed under their own weight. A comet should not move like this. A rock from another star system should not choose its spin. One scientist, exhausted after days without sleep, whispered words that no press secretary dared repeat. "We're not looking at a rock. We're looking at intention." The Webb data kept coming, each new frame stranger than the last, each new graph bending the laws of physics just a little further. And somewhere between the silence of deep space and the chaos of human imagination, a truth began to form. The deeper Webb looks, the more the mystery grows. The discovery of 3R Atlas is more than just another astronomical headline. It is a mirror held up to humanity's future. If this object is confirmed to be natural, it rewrites the rhythm of our universe. No longer can we think of our solar system as a quiet, isolated harbor. Instead, it becomes clear that fragments from distant stars, broken worlds, and shattered comets are always slipping into our neighborhood. Each one carries secrets of faraway suns, perhaps even the chemical seeds of life itself. The theory of panspermia, life spreading through the cosmos via frozen messengers, suddenly feels less like speculation and more like inevitability. Imagine that. The spark that lit Earth's oceans could have once been a speck of dust from a system we'll never see, drifting for millions of years until it found us. But if the object proves artificial, the implications are even heavier. For the first time, humanity would have evidence that intelligence has bloomed elsewhere. It would mean we are not the first to ask questions, not the first to send something beyond the safety of our home star, not the only species to wonder what lies beyond the dark. And more unsettling than that, the possibility that someone else already knows we are here. If 3I Atlas was engineered, then it was built with purpose. Maybe it is a probe designed to gather knowledge, or maybe it is a relic left adrift, forgotten by its makers. Either way, it places us in a position we have never been before, not as explorers, but as the observed. The emotional weight of this realization cannot be overstated. For some, the sight of a visitor from beyond would be a moment of wonder, a unifying spark, just as Apollo 11 showed Earth from afar and shifted how we see ourselves. This discovery could bind us together. Borders would blur, religions would adapt, philosophies would expand, and humanity might finally recognize itself as a single species sharing one fragile planet. The night sky would no longer be an abstract dome of distant lights. It would be a highway on which others may travel. Yet awe has a shadow, and that shadow is fear. If someone built it, then someone had the power to launch it across the endless void. What else might they be capable of? Do they come as teachers, explorers, or predators? We may find ourselves uniting not only in hope, but also in preparation, glancing nervously upward, wondering if the first glimpse is merely the beginning of contact. The line between wonder and terror would blur, and every new comet or asteroid could feel like a question mark aimed directly at us. And so we are left standing beneath the stars, caught between exhilaration and dread. Whether 3-eye Atlas is natural or artificial, one truth now echoes across the silence. The universe is not a distant dream, but an active participant in our story. The only question that remains, the one no telescope can yet answer, is this: are we the observers of the cosmos, or are we the ones being observed? The James Webb Space Telescope was built to be our new eye on the cosmos, a mirror polished so finely it can peer across billions of years and still return the faintest whispers of light. But perhaps its greatest revelation isn't just about distant galaxies, it's about the strangers that pass through our own backyard. Oumuamua was the warning shot, a shard of something ancient and inexplicable that slipped through our solar system before we even knew how to ask the right questions. And now, 3-eye Atlas comes streaking in from the dark, not as a memory, but as a presence, one we can actually see. The image Webb delivered is more than pixels. It's a reminder that we are not an isolated island drifting alone in a cosmic ocean. Visitors come, some crash and burn, others merely pass by, and some, like this one, linger in our imagination long after their trajectory carries them away. For the first time, we can truly study such an object in detail, and that detail may tell us whether it was born of frozen chaos or of careful hands. Because the truth is, these are not accidents. These are not coincidences. The universe has a rhythm, and Webb has begun to let us hear the beat. What we once dismissed as chance encounters may, in time, look like the beginning of a pattern. And if 3-eye Atlas is only the third note in that song, then how many more are waiting in the void, already speeding toward us? Perhaps the cosmos isn't just vast and indifferent. Perhaps it's deliberate. Perhaps the reason we've built our telescopes larger, our sensors sharper, and our questions louder is because something out there expected us to. And if the universe really is sending us messages, the question is no longer when we'll find the truth, but whether we'll be ready when it arrives. Okay.